This is it. The finals in Munich are here, and it's quite the matchup we've got on our hands. Overall, it has been quite the interesting year for the Champions League, as we saw the introduction of the new league phase from UEFA. But all in all, I don't really mind this new addition to the competition, really, because it just made that final match day so much fun. And I think for all the changes they've made, that was definitely the best one. However, before I give my predictions for this upcoming final, let's take a look at how I predicted the semi-finals to go and see what those predictions have in store. I'm going to start off with Arsenal versus PSG. Now, I had backed PSG to progress here, and I was correct. It wasn't the amazing football that I might have been envisioning, but it wasn't some terrorism football either. PSG won 1-0 in London before beating the Gunners 2-1 in Paris. Could PSG be on track to win their first Champions League trophy? It's definitely on the cards. With how they're playing, it could be possible. But it's another season without a European trophy for Arsenal. Even their rivals got a trophy. Even Spurs won a European trophy. That's crazy, man. And then we move on to Barcelona versus Inter Milan. Now, I backed Barcelona to progress here, but I was wrong. And what a tie this was, by the way. Nothing could separate either side in Catalonia, as the points were shared in a 3-3 draw. We were in for a right game in Milan, as it looked like another 3-3 draw before Fratesi won it for Inter in the 99th minute. 7-6 on aggregate. My, we have been spoiled. We get one game of some not great football, and then a game that just treats us to that. Yeah, what a time to be alive. So it looks like we kept things consistent, as I got half of my predictions correct, which, fairly good going, I'd say. I am shocked that Barcelona have been knocked out, as in my opinion, they've been one of the best sides in Europe this season. But Inter, they stepped up and took Barcelona right to the end, eventually winning and progressing to the finals. So fair play to the Italians. And whilst I don't agree with the sports washing ownership of PSG, thank you for knocking out Arsenal. Also, bit of a caveat here, but whenever the Champions League final is played in Munich, a new team wins their first trophy. 1979 saw Forest, if you couldn't guess. 1993 was Marseille. 1997 was Borussia Dortmund. And 2012 was Chelsea. Just a little something to consider when coming to this clash, with the Parisians hoping for their first ever European crown and to become only the second French side to win the Champions League behind their rivals Marseille. We're left with two very good sides here, so I'm hoping we'll see a very exciting final in Munich. So without further ado, let's predict PSG versus Inter Milan. The French champions face off against the Italian runners-up as they make their first Champions League final since the 2019-2020 season. Inter are back since their last appearance in the 22-23 final, in which they lost to Manchester City, who also won their first Champions League against them, which is an interesting coincidence that the last final they're involved in handed another team their first trophy. PSG coming up? Something's afoot here for sure. PSG have once again claimed the Ligue 1 title, sitting 19 points clear, losing 2 games all season and scoring 92 goals in the process. Whilst they usually have the French league locked up, it is still very impressive, only losing twice all season. That's nothing to sniff at. Serie A went right down to the final day, with Inter trailing title rivals Napoli by just a point. Both teams had kind fixtures and both teams won their respective games. Inter were ahead at half time, but come the 51st minute, Napoli had pipped them to the title with a McTominay and Lukaku goal. McTominay, by the way, just tearing up Italy with Napoli. Crazy. That marks the end of another trophyless season for Inter Milan, with only the Champions League up for grabs. They'll be hoping for something they can finally bring home this season. Both teams are looking good this season, as you'd expect from Champions League finalists, but this wasn't a matchup I'd expected to see in Munich. PSG have cemented themselves as one of the best teams in Europe this season, playing some brilliant football under Enrique, and this has been massively helped by a player in the form of their life leading the line for the Parisians. PSG boasts some brilliant players in their ranks, with the likes of Barcola, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Doué, Neves and Vitinha all at their disposal, among other players as well who I've not mentioned here. It's just a crazy side to look at, man. Honestly, just mental. Dembele is a single goal off of his Barcelona tally in over 100 less appearances. 33 of those goals have come this season, alongside an extra 13 assists in 47 appearances in all comps. Mental. This is some insane form for a player to be in, man. It's crazy. Whilst Inter Milan have fallen short in the league and the cups, they've surprised many of us by making it to this final. They played out a brilliant game against Barcelona, who I personally thought would have progressed, but here they are, showing they can beat some of the best sides in Europe. I think PSG are showing that they are one of those teams at this point as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all goes down. Whilst the Milano team do not have Ousmane Dembele at their disposal, they do have the likes of Lautaro Martinez, who scored 22 goals this season, as well as Marcus Thuram, who has scored 18 this season. So, they're not bad strikers by any means. They're just not Ousmane Dembele levels. But no one is really this season. They can also count Mehdi Taremi, Çalhanoğlu, Dumfries and Fratesi amongst their ranks as well, along with many other players too. It's two sides full of quality that just play different styles of football, and I'm hoping that can lead to a very exciting game that's worthy of being the Champions League final. Fingers crossed. I just really hope it's not a 1-0 ball fest like most of the finals we've seen this season. Give us some end-to-end football, I repeat that Barcelona game, goals in the 99th minute to win it. That would be lovely. Please. Both of these sides do not play terrorist football. There's no Arteta in this tie, so just please play some good football. I beg. I want to see more than a goal. That's all I'm asking. It's not too much to ask, right? Inter have constantly surprised me throughout this campaign, but once again, I just cannot back them to lift this trophy. If you're superstitious, then it's already been written in the stars. A final in Munich means there'll be a new winner, and of the two, only PSG have not won the Champions League yet. But even if we, push that to the side, we don't look at the history of the Champions League. I think PSG have the edge here in terms of their squad as well. Now, their squad is on the younger side of things, but they have the edge in quality, and with Enrique at the helm, I think they played the better football as well. I'm not underestimating Inter Milan like I have done in previous predictions this season, but I just think that PSG are the better side and that they'll win it in Munich. I reckon we'll see PSG lift their first ever Champions League trophy, not only being the second ever French side to do it, but to be the second French side to do it in Munich. And they didn't even need Neymar, Messi or Mbappe to do it. I know that's sort of a big talking point, Mbappe fucked off to Real Madrid and now they're like an amazing European team. Maybe there's something in that. Mbappe is no longer in the competition. But whatever the reason, they're playing good football. Enrique's got them playing as a team. And I think from what I've seen this season, they're the ones to do it in Munich. Sorry, Inter Milan fans. You've got some nice shirts here and there, but I don't think you can stop this PSG team, personally. But you stopped Barcelona, so who knows? Anyway, I've been O2GT, and those have been my predictions for the Champions League final. If you have any of your own, please leave them down in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.